Mhm. Perfect. Much better. Much better. Hey everybody, making a quick pivot. I actually got a little bit of a break last night. I took one, and look at what happens. The abortion decision. Wow. So there we have it. So I'm having to make a quick pivot and change my show around. And there is that. And that is the way, but because I've been at it. Matt, we still there, sweetie?
Yeah, I have Reverend Thurston on the line.
Okay.
The only thing I can think of with the feedback is I have you in queue right now just so that I can talk to you.
Okay.
I'm going to take you out of queue when we go into the show, and hopefully that's the issue.
You want to take me out of queue now so we can try it?
Yep.
Okay. Let's just see. Hey. Well, I don't get it now. I don't get the feedback now. Okay. Okay. Well, no, we're good. Well, no, I'm getting feedback right now. You took me took me back on. Okay. Okay, well, let me speak with Pastor Thurston. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, hon. Thank you for everything. All right. Hi, Reverend. How are you? Good to hear your voice. I'm sorry. I'm having to completely redo my show because I missed the abortion piece last night. Okay. Okay. All right. So let me get myself together. Okay. All right. Thank you, Pastor Thurston. Okay.
No problem.
All right. Yep. Got to do all of this. Hey, everybody. So why don't you all call in today? Because I would love to get your thoughts about this leaked draft. We'll see how this is going to go, but this is something that has been that's been planned for a long time, and we need to be mindful of this. This is really going to hurt poor women in particular. So here we go. Hey, y'all. Andre.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to meet with you today on Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. Coming to you from WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Of course, WCPT, based here in Chicago, the Heartland Signal. We invite you to join WCPT 820 as well as AM 950 Radio in social media. And if you need to stream us live, go to WCPT820.com, WCPT820.com, or AM950radio.com, AM950radio.com. And please meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. But we are now hanging out at YouTube. That's right. Meet Andre and Linda over there. And everybody, Mark, get on over there. Ann and Freddie, how you doing, sweetie? And Jewel and Frederick Hudson and Raphael and so many of you. Let me see. Ann Spencer, Andrew Maloney, and Daryl and Carol from the left coast, and Frederick. All of you, get over to the Santita Jackson Show, if you will. Please, and my official Facebook page, again, is Santita Jackson and Friends. And that's where I can accept a friendship from you, and I want to do that. So meet me at the Santita Jackson and Friends page and like me over there. Let's talk about this stunning leak from the Supreme Court. It's a draft, a 98-page draft that would strike down abortion in the United States. This has stood for nearly 50 years. Indeed, the 3 Supreme Court justices that President Trump appointed said that they would not touch precedent. That's not true. So let's talk about this, everybody. It's so untrue. And what will be the impact? What will be the impact? Of course, I have my personal views, and I'll be sharing them with you as we go along through the show, but I want to hear from you. 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. Let's talk about it. It's World Press Freedom Day. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. Indeed, that was going to be the focus of the show today. But today, we have got to talk about this abortion ban that appears to be on track, to heading our way. What will that mean? What will that mean? I want to know what you think about this, Andre and Linda and Ann and Freddie and Mark and Jewel and Frederick and Raphael and Ann, Andrew, Daryl, Carol, Frederick, Louis Chewy, Hannah from South Carolina, Joyce, of course, the beautiful Philadelphia's Shirley, Joyce, Francis. I want to hear what you all have to say about this. Barbara from out there in Oak Park, Ashley from down there in Memphis. I want to know what your thoughts are today. Angel Delavio, how you doing? Oh, you love the phone cover? And Angel, I've got it in clear too. Oh. So everybody, call me at 773-763-9278. And of course, we'll be talking with John Nichols in the next hour. But I'm sure John is going to have to do the pivot too, because I want to know what your thoughts are about this leaked draft opinion that is set to strike down Roe v. Wade. What do you think about that, everybody? Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Chicago will have a high of 49 degrees. It will be rainy. Minneapolis, St. Paul, a high of 56 degrees, partly cloudy. The Dow closed up 84 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed up 201 points, The S&P 500 closed up 23 points. Well, we have got the NBA playoffs. Second phase, it's wonderful, everybody. The Heat are leading in their series against the 76ers 1-0. Last night, 106, the Heat, the 76ers 92. The Phoenix Suns are up 1-0 over the Mavericks. It's just the second phase, first games, everybody. But the Suns were convincing, 121 to the Mavericks 114. The Bucks, world champion Bucks, will be playing the Celtics tonight. Everyone is talking about this stunning decision, this leaked draft, 98 pages, published on Monday by Politico, strongly suggesting that the U.S. Supreme Court's right-wing supermajority will soon strike down Roe v. Wade. the landmark 1973 decision enshrining the constitutional right to an abortion. What do you think about this? What do you think? Many people are alarmed. Many people are celebrating. I want to hear your thoughts. 773-763-9278, 773-763. WCPT. It's very interesting because more and more states, more than 20 states, have already severely restricted abortion. What this decision will do is kick this back to the states. What this decision might do is impact LGBTQ rights, what you're allowed to do in your bedrooms. I mean, there are a lot of ripples in this ocean. And I think we all need to pay attention to it. And we need to have a discussion about it today because this decision is predicated upon privacy. Attorney C.K. Hoffler will be with us in just a few minutes to talk about it. Privacy, what does that mean? Essentially, the court is saying that you don't have a right to it. What does that mean? In Ukraine, this is the first time Ukraine has taken a backseat to a domestic story. Wow, in months. The United States and Western officials believe that Russian President Vladimir Putin could formally declare war on Ukraine as soon as May 9th. The declaration would enable the full mobilization of Russia's reserve forces. What does that mean? They believe. What kind of intelligence is that? I'd love to know. Coronavirus. The U.S. is likely to record its 1 millionth reported COVID-19 death in the next few weeks, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. This comes as public health officials are urging people to get booster shots months after the vaccination has slowed the spread of the virus. We will be talking with Dr. Shanita Knight about what else we can do to slow the spread of the virus, like infection prevention practices. We've got Pastor Steve Thurston, the teaching pastor at Salem Baptist Church, the House of Hope. Indeed, it's the largest Black church in the state of Illinois. The greatest old church in the world, as the senior pastor James Meek says. I am so glad that you are with us today. Of course, your book is Mirror Moments. Everybody keep buying it. Pastor Thurston, how are you today?
I'm doing amazing. Simply glad to be with you.
Wonderful to be with you. What's the good news?
Well, I've got a question for you and the listeners. And that question is simply this. Where are you right now? Maybe you're at your desk, scrolling through emails, trying to put off the morning's work in hopes that it will magically disappear and go away if you don't acknowledge it. Or maybe you're in your favorite chair with a cup of coffee, acknowledging the morning sun. Maybe you're in your car, sitting in morning traffic and around to the office. Wherever you find yourself sitting or standing or driving right now, I want to ask you another question. Are you really there? Where are you right now? No, really, where are you right now? So much about life in our culture has become about the next thing, the next project, the next promotion, the next vacation, or the next experience. We've become obsessed with growth as it pertains to results and achievement and living a successful life, to the point where we've forgotten how to be here. We've forgotten about being present. As I ask myself the same question that I'm posing to you all today, the honest truth is that I'm not here. I'm 10 years in the future. I'm 1,000 steps ahead, enjoying the prize of all of the hard work, enjoying the destination because the journey was long and difficult. I'm enjoying the dream after the slow and steady and sometimes frustrating routine. My truth is that I spend a lot more time and energy living in the future rather than being present and in the moment. And the reality is that if when I get there, Santita, I probably won't even be there either because I've become so accustomed and even addicted to being in the future. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who's like this. You probably spend a lot of your time in the future too, while your dreams have come true. Or in the past, wondering how you could have done things just a little different to impact your current state. So let me ask you again, where are you right now? The most important place you can be is where you are today, right now. Not where you've been, not where you want to be, not where you hope to be, but where you are right now. What good is being more successful, more disciplined, more respected, more fluent, more traveled, if anywhere you go, you don't know how to be there. If you don't know how to completely live that experience in the space and time that it shares, what good is it if you can't breathe in the life that surrounds you in the present? Eckhart Tolle said that the more you focus on time, past and future, the more you miss the now, the most precious thing there is. Being present takes practice, discipline, repetition, until it becomes second nature. Being present, it may be one of the hardest things that some of us will ever work on. Times that will require us to hold both joy and pain in the same hand. It may feel like it's pulling us apart or drowning us in the reality of our struggles. But when done regularly, when handled with great care and grace and patience for the process, it's one of the most freeing parts of the journey that I could ever recommend. Where are you right now? Where you are right now, it may not be ideal or perfect, but it's your reality. And if we don't start with reality, if we don't handle the present with grace, we have no real hope for the future. So I ask you again, friends, where are you right now?
In the past. I've been doing a lot of reminiscing. I think maybe that's a function of age, and I think that and I've been bumping into a lot of people I haven't seen in a long time. That having been said, that is not where I need to be. I mean, that was what did you know? Remember the song "Lord Help Me to Take One Day at a Time." Yesterday's gone, gone, gone. Okay, it's gone. But tomorrow is not promised. What you have is your daily bread right now. And Ann Spencer says she wanted to thank you. She is a Salem member. Hey, hey, hey. Thank you for that message and the thought for the day. That's right. You're getting a lot of thanks for it. Everybody get his book, Mirror Moments, because this does help you to take a look at yourself. And you need to do that. Where are you? Where are you? Are you here and now? As Luther Vandross saying. Are you here and now? You need to be. This is the present. What did they say? The present is the gift. This is what you got. This is what you got. How can we get your book, Pastor?
You can head over to my website. It's Stephen with the PH, StephenJThurston.com. You can get the book, access to a whole bunch of good content on there.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You know what? I have a question for you. It's a quick question. Because we had a really tremendous decision. Well, the leaking of a decision that we anticipate will be brought down by the Supreme Court. And if you can't answer this quickly, that's fine. But as a minister of the gospel, who is a human being who functions in the world, how do you read this? Because we do know that wealthy women will always have access privately to abortions. That's the reality. And I'm wondering what you think, what you make of this, because I know somebody's going to call today or send me a message and say, your father came out against abortion in 1973. And we're not talking about Reverend today. We're talking to me. And I grew up in a household that did not support abortion. That having been said, he evolved. I ended up evolving too, independently of him, because he's a man and I'm a woman. So I will see the world a little bit differently. As well I ought. That having been said, abortion privately, that's something that I would oppose, but that's for myself. That's not for anyone else. That's not for anyone else. I don't know what your circumstances are. I don't know how you were raised. I don't know what shaped you. And while we all make our judgments, I'm not here to condemn you. I'm not. That having been said, a lot of people, wealthy women, are going to be fine. It's poor women who are not going to be fine. Now, I think there's a time, Reverend Thurston, when, it's too late. Okay? Now, and put the child up for adoption. I want to do that. But I'm just curious about your thinking on this.
Good. Thank you for asking. I believe that the decision that a woman, or in some instances a couple, makes regarding abortion can be very nuanced, as you just alluded to. And that individuals should have the right to make decisions for themselves based upon their context, based upon the various circumstances that surround and impact and influence that decision. I also believe that many of the conversations that surround abortion are not really about pro-life. They're about pro-birth. Because if we look at policy is often not in place to help those after the birth has taken place to sustain and maintain the life of that child at a quality level. When we look at policies regarding health and access to adequate health care, education, food disparities, the list goes on and on. There's so much concern about the birth, but what about the life and the sustainability of life at a quality level? So I believe we need to let people make decisions for themselves, and whatever the consequences are, those individuals will then suffer those consequences or deal or manage with those consequences based upon their decisions. We all should have the right to make decisions and choices that impact us, and not allow someone else who doesn't have to deal with the consequences to make those decisions for us.
Amen to that. And I don't think they're concerned about birth because they don't care about prenatal health care. They don't do anything to help the mothers and the fathers with the children once they get here. In other countries, they deliver care packages to the families of newborns with diapers, with food. They make sure that a woman has paid medical leave if she has a job. We don't do that here. So what are you talking about? You're not pro-life because you don't support life. If you supported life, you support universal single-payer health care. If you supported life, you support public education that is excellent for everybody. Everybody would have access to a Whitney Young or Northside Prep or a Brooklyn Tech or a Cass Tech in its heyday, and on and on and on. That is not what we do here. Everybody, you would not have a broken food supply chain. You would not have farmers letting their food die on the vine because they can't get the food, not from farm to table, but farm to the street. Get serious. I don't know what this is about, but I know this is not about life, because if you were about life, you would preserve it and protect it. You wouldn't allow police to treat average citizens the way so many of them do. If you believed in life, that's not what you're doing. A woman wouldn't have to go broke trying to have a baby in a decent hospital. You'd be trying to get more doctors and nurses, not fewer. Get out of here. I'm with you, Jewel. Come on now, get real. Get real. You give people some options. And I would like for adoption to be an option. I really would. But it should be humane. People shouldn't lose their humanity trying to have a baby or electing not to. Got to think about this, everybody. Think about it. And I want to hear your thoughts, because a lot of people feel a lot of different ways, and I respect that. I really, really do. Because I have some people very, very close to me who are staunchly anti-abortion, and I respect that. But I want to hear what everybody has to say today. I really want to know. I want to know what if you're going to stop abortion. What are you going to start? What you going to start? Because nature requires balance. I've got Dr. Shanina Knighton, but I want to thank you for that, Pastor Thurston, because I think these are the people you're talking to every day. Are you wiping out Planned Parenthood? Are you for real? Oh my gosh. I've got Dr. Shanina Knighton here. Dr. Knighton, I got about 3 minutes. I got to hold you a little while because we had this tremendous decision. Well, a leaked draft, to be fair, of a decision. A leaked draft. So it's not an official decision, but they are wink nod letting you know where the court more than likely is going to go. What would be the impact of repealing Roe v. Wade, Dr. Knighton?
So I was going to say, that's a loaded question, Santita.
Mm-hmm.
One that I'm not even prepared to even think about, or haven't even gone into enough detail to even be able to, I would say, give a response, to be honest.
You know what? Let me tell you something, because you didn't know I was going to ask you that question. That is fair, because there is a lot. No, honestly, there's a lot, and I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm very, very concerned about healthcare, because when I see Planned Parenthood being dialed back, and they do not only provide abortion services. Many of us, having a private physician is a luxury. Most people don't have that. We don't have adequate access to even education about our bodies. We're not doing that. I'm going to have Janice Mathis she's the executive director of the National Council of Negro Women. This, of course, we know them through Dorothy Height, great Dorothy Height, and the former president of Janetta Cole. And the thing is, they're looking at, wait a minute, many, and I can tell you this, many Black women, abortion we don't feel comfortable with that. We have been historically staunchly anti-abortion. But needing access? Oh my gosh. Wait. Everybody's anti until your daughter is in her first year of college. How about that? Yeah. It's all of that. I'm sorry.
No, I just think it's it's so much there. And I'm saying like so much to unpack, right? When you think about, I don't know, I guess for me, like I'm thinking about like, let's say there's strategy such as like, a morning after pill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the controversy is, there's still controversy about when is it a baby versus when is it a fetus, when is life viable, when does it count? I'm just saying, like, there's so many different factors here and so much. It's just a lot to unpack, Santita. Like, I'm going to be honest. Even too, when you think about the standpoint of, like you mentioned, a young woman that's not prepared to have, a child at that time. Sadly, I do think that there's going to be unintended consequences, such as the uptick of death of babies. Not necessarily like right now, we're already, dealing with that, just dealing with maternal health and infant death, But I just think there'll be an uptick of it that's going to be on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Well, hold on.
Because women don't have the decision. So it's just a lot. Like, I'm being honest. Like, when I tell you, I'm always looking at both sides of the fence in regards to that topic. And it's just always been a tough one to be able to decide. Or, like, it's sad that it has to be so black and white.
But you know what? Hold on 1 second, because I've got to go. Hold on, because I've got to go to break. But that's what I'm glad that you're working this out, even with us on the air. Because I don't know if Pastor Thurston is still there, because this is how many of us are trying to work through this. Really, this is not cut and dried. What will women have access to? When are we going to have age appropriate information given to our boys and girls about sexuality and reproduction? What is we need the morning after pill, all this stuff, and even teaching our children how to court. Oh yeah. What is appropriate behavior? And there is just so much here. There's so much here, and I want to hear what your thoughts are today. Call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. Let's talk about this leaked document that it's a draft that shows that the Supreme Court is getting ready to overturn Roe v. Wade. President Trump promised he would do it, but it didn't start with him, everybody. He brought it to fruition, but this has been coming for a long time. And the right wing told you that this is what they were going to do. Back in just a minute on the Santita Jackson Show. Dr. Knighton, I did not mean to put you on the spot, just to let you know.
No, that's a tough one. I'm going to be honest. It's always been a tough discussion to even be had. Just as I mentioned, there's always like so many different sides of it. I'm always constantly thinking about the women that, experience, sexual assault and rape and end up pregnant as a result of that. And so having to deal with that trauma and there not being exceptions to the rule, right? I think about the coat hangers, back in the day of women trying to do unsafely their own abortions because they didn't have the money or a Planned Parenthood or the means to be able to eliminate having a child. I also look on the other end at women that are having 5, 6 abortions because they don't practice prevention, So this, to me, is just a tough topic. It always has been. It's just always been a tough topic. And I always cringe, because some people do have a say on it, meaning like that there's a right or a wrong. But I bring understanding.
It is hard. It's hard. I was at a rally.
Okay, I have Attorney Hoffler on the line. I'm going to put her through.
Thank you. Attorney Hoffler?
Yes, I'm here.
I've been talking with Dr. Knighton about this. We were at a big pro-choice rally in Washington. This was maybe 30 years ago, if not longer. Maybe about 89, 90, 91. And this woman, bless her heart, she was wearing a big button. And she said, "Kiss me. I'm an Irish Catholic who's had an abortion." And I was like, I'm not ready for that. I'm here for you to have your choice, but that I'm not ready for. And I think we need to have a more nuanced discussion. I'm in agreement with you. That having been said, I know wealthy women will always have access to this. Always. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot. Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot. So everybody, I want to know what you're thinking. Thank you, Joyce. You like my necklace and my earrings from a secondhand shop. Can you believe it? Oh yeah. Had to. Oh, I saw it and it cost next to nothing. Yeah. Next to nothing. And my mother saw it. She said, "Oh, you better grab that." My mother and I like to do deep dives at secondhand stores. So there you go. But Dr. Knighton, of course, you can say hello to CK
Dr.
Hoffler.
Knighton just dropped.
Who?
Would you like me to try and call her back?
Yeah, see if she wants to. See, tell her if she doesn't want to participate. I completely understand.
Okay.
Okay.
And we have just under a minute, by the way.
Okay, thank you, sweetie. Okay. Thank you, CK. I've been calling folks this morning. How about that?
Yep.
Oh,
Tough topic.
yeah, it really is. It is. It's a really hard one.
30 seconds.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Let's talk about this 98-page draft that was leaked last night. It shows that the Supreme Court is ready to overturn the Roe v. Wade decision. What do you think about that? There's some reports that say it's 98 pages. Other people say it's a 67-page document. Anyway, it was reported to. It was sent to Politico. Somebody on that court wanted people to know what is coming down the pike. And so, of course, this was powered by the conservative supermajority, three of whom were appointed by President Trump, but those on the right have been telling us for decades, nearly 5 decades, that they would take a slow, long, hard slog of a march to end Roe v. Wade. And here we are. What will this mean? And where will this lead? Right? Because this was based upon privacy. And I want, of course, a brilliant attorney, C.K. Hoffler, our legal eagle. She'll be talking about this on her show today on WAOK at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And of course, sure we'll be talking about this on your legal Q&A with CK segment tomorrow. What does this leaked document say? And what do you read into the leaking of the document?
Good morning, Santita, to our audience. Well, I have to say, the leaking of the document and the leaked document just say that finally the conservatives in this country have won a major victory as it relates to women's reproductive rights, as it relates to tightening the grip on women's ability to make choices as it relates to her body, and also a major victory to set women behind. It sets really women behind this country. It sets young girls behind this country. It's going to mostly impact Black and brown women and poor women. That's what's going to be impacted. And why do I say that? And before I unpack the opinion, Santita, if as a matter of law in this country, women are not allowed to get abortions after a certain period of time, a lot of women will get those abortions. They will do them illegally. They will go to another country if they need to. They'll go to another state. They will do whatever it takes. And if you are mean, you will do whatever it takes. You will safely get an abortion. You'll go to your doctor. You'll go to a doctor in a neighboring state. But you will get that abortion if that's what you want to have. So it's not going to stop people of means, women of means, from getting abortions. What it's going to do is it's going to stop women who don't have means, poor women in Black and brown communities who relied heavily on organizations such as Planned Parenthood to help them navigate through abortion, to help teach them about the reproductive system, to give them their gynecological exams. It's going to have an impact on those women. And believe it or not, large numbers of women in Black and brown communities rely on organizations such as Planned Parenthood for their medical care because they don't have health insurance. They don't have a primary care physician. But what they do is they will go to, for instance, Planned Parenthood. So this decision, which essentially, again, it was leaked, so it's not the final decision, this is a draft, but it's a long draft, that was intentionally leaked. There are no mistakes, there are no oopsies when it comes to the U.S. Supreme Court. This is leaked by design. Why? Because it's going to be a huge public policy, health policy issue. And they wanted to leak it to signal to the world, actually, but to this country, what is coming down the pipe. Now, there's always an opportunity for justices to change their mind, but that's not going to happen. Why? Because we have a very, very strong conservative U.S. Supreme Court. This is by design, it's intentional. This opinion is very, very specific, and it will, in effect, overturn Roe v. Wade. So right now, the law of the land is that a woman can have an abortion legally. And it's up to the state, of course, to regulate some parts of it. We've seen jurisdictions such as Texas, and many of them, but to the forefront, Texas and Mississippi, who have launched significant challenges to that, and now they've succeeded. So, Santita, this is very significant. If you are right now a woman waking up and hearing about this for the first time, you should be devastated whether you agree with abortion rights or not. It's not a question of whether you want to have an abortion, whether you agree with that. It's whether you agree with that a woman has the right to choose what happens to her body. Particularly in instances where she is raped, where she's a victim of incest, where she has a child that she simply doesn't want, can't afford to have. Who's going to take care of that? That, again, does not really terribly impact wealthy women, upper middle class women, even middle class women. But it does impact the rest of the nation. And I say the rest of the nation because it's not just the woman, it's the family. If you're bringing a child, an unwanted child into a family, if you can't afford to feed the children that you have, and you're forced because you can't get an abortion to bring that child to the family, it impacts the family. And again, whether you agree with abortion or not, if you're a woman, you should agree that you should have the right to dictate body in this instance. That's the issue. That's the principle.
Well, hold on. This was. Well, let me ask you this very quickly, because I've got a lot of people who want to chime in and they might have questions for you. I keep hearing that this was decided upon privacy, and now we have no right to privacy. This could even impact people who they say who commit sodomy, for example. Can you explain what privacy is and how that relates to this imminent or potential decision?
Well, certainly. Privacy in general is a legal concept that addresses your right to privacy. You have a right to privacy as it relates to what happens to you medically. There are HIPAA laws. So as it relates to HIPAA laws, when you go to the hospital, you sign waivers. If somebody just wants to find out what happened to you, they don't have to find out what happened to you medically. They have to get your consent, because there are privacy laws, HIPAA laws, and others that dictate and govern that people can't simply gain access to your records. But if we are in a situation where it is illegal to get an abortion, and it is left to the state to implement and to determine how that will be done, then there will be privacy violations, because the state will have to gain access, monitor, to make sure that people aren't getting illegal abortion. So that's a privacy issue. Your right to privacy, we need to be really concerned about that, because where does it end and where does it begin? So if it's a right to privacy as to what happens to you and your body medically, how does that extend to other privacy rights that you might have? What else is in those records? When you go to a doctor, let's say you go to a doctor and you're a victim of something, you disclose, they want to know your full medical history. They need to know your full medical history, and that would include what has happened to you. Sometimes it's very important to disclose to a doctor things that have happened that you may be embarrassed about, a medical condition, because it could impact your medical treatment. So if there is indeed some type of a violation because of a state implementing a law that is related to how they are monitoring, how they are executing this new, if this opinion does go through, this new law of the land that the U.S. Supreme Court is deeming to be appropriate, there could be severe deviation or severe violations of your privacy rights. We have a lot to be concerned about that.
Anita from North Carolina. Anita, I'm sure you've got some very strong opinions about this. What's on your mind, Anita?
Good morning. First of all, I'm very sympathetic towards people wanting to take good care of their children. Well, if I look at the banking system, the way they charge interest, I know in Islam, you cannot compound interest where you add the interest every month. It's not like a flat 7% over your loan for the time that you have it. They recalculate it every month, and then they give you mostly interest that you're paying off in the beginning if instead of the principal. So that's having a lot of people having problems with finances, okay? And if you're a woman or a man and you think a woman, her value is only in having intercourse with you, and women are using that, I don't care what we do, we're going to continue to have a problem with this, because women are thinking that's the only way they can make money, instead of understanding that they can use their mind. And we have a problem with that in the world, all over. That's why young women are used, I guess, so they're supposed to be more, sexually, vibrant or whatever. I don't know. So the values is affecting this too. And then I've got a problem with the wars. People like me that believe in being fruitful and multiplying with children and letting God provide. And I was able to get my children through school, and my husband worked the whole time, even though we divorced. Okay, so we got LGBTQ not having children, and we have women aborting children, but yet these people that want a lot of money want to have a lot of wars so that they can steal other people's resources to have more money. So I don't want to have children that I have come into a situation like that either. And the wealthy women have an abortion. If you have money, you're supposed to have your children. Okay, so you have money and you still want an abortion. So what's that saying to other people?
Okay. Anita has spoken, and and thank you so much. Sending you much love, Anita. She said a whole lot. Let me go to Mark from DC. Mark, how are you?
Yes, good morning, Santita and friends. My views on abortion, I think every person has a right to live. And another way I thought about it was, what if that child could be a great leader one day? They'll never know what they would possibly be, aborting a baby. Even if you can't afford the baby, like you said, put them under adoption or something like that. But don't kill a baby. I believe life is very important.
I absolutely believe you're making a great point. I just wish we were pro-life, and I just don't think that we are, Mark. I mean, because, we don't believe we don't support prenatal care. We don't support postnatal care. We don't support public education. We don't support equal access to equal high quality education, health care, decent housing. We've got a broken a food supply chain. You have farmers who cannot get their food from the field to the street, where they could even have a sale on the street. I mean, I just think that we're being hypocritical, just generally speaking, about being pro-life. This is not about being pro-life at all, because these folks don't support it. They don't support life. There's nothing they do that supports life. And I hear you. You've got you've got greatness. I got it, but ain't nobody supporting. Even if the great child is born, we don't want to educate them. We don't want to feed them. What is that? Yes.
Yeah, I have a friend. She's a minister, and I heard you mention about women getting raped and like that. Her daughter is like a love child because she turned out to be a great woman, even though she was a product of rape. The daughter came out to be a wonderful person.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to come out of bad situations.
Absolutely. But the thing is, she had the spiritual supports to do that. There's some people who don't have that. And I think that we have got to, I think as Dr. Knighton said, and she said, I'm not prepared to talk about this today, and I can appreciate that. I think we've got to have a more nuanced discussion about this and have a real discussion about life and what life means and what it takes to support a life. And we're not prepared for that. And we're not prepared. We can't even get COVID-19. This is almost a 3-year-old vaccine. We can't even get funding for that. We're in a pandemic still. I don't care what these officials say. We're about to have 1 million deaths in a couple of weeks. I mean, are you for real?
If I try to control everybody, that's what things like control. If I control myself.
Well, yes, and you know what? And Mark, that is my point. This is less about life. This is not about life. This is about control. Period. Remember, women just have had the right to vote 102 years. That's it. And I think that Black women have, I think Black women need to have, I'm glad that we're participating in this discussion, because Black women never had agency over our bodies, CK. I mean, this takes us back to slavery, where Black women had no agency over our bodies, none at all. And you were forced, to have children. And not that you didn't love your children. No, I'm not saying that. But there is just a much more nuanced discussion, CK, that before I go to the next caller, that I think we need to be having about this. Mark, I want to thank you so much for calling in from DC.
Yeah, I always enjoy your program. It's very informative.
Thank you, Mark. I'm sending you much love in DC.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Yeah, you too, sweetheart. CK, before I go to the next caller, your thoughts. Thank you, sweetie.
We have to be very careful. When we go back, there needs to be a nuanced discussion. We have to just remember, in slavery, there were a lot of children born, and we love our children. But those children were born as a result of violence, of rape, of unwarranted sex. And so I am vehemently opposed to the government stepping in and making a determination of what women should be able to do with their bodies and intervening in the circumstances of that. I mean, is the government going to regulate now, which is possible, contraception? Mm-hmm. Single sex, when we have two people of the same sex that are having intercourse, are they going to monitor and regulate that? The privacy issues as it relates to just the medical component, because remember, every state is going to be charged with regulating if they ban, how they ban, to what extent, and how they implement this law. They're going to be in charge of that. And some states have already pushed very, very intrusive, draconian legislation that, as you know, in Texas, would allow you to sue everybody in the chain who's remotely engaged, anyone or even transport someone to get an abortion. So I think that we are stepping back into a period and that is very detrimental to women's ability to choose what's best for her body. Again, you don't have to agree with abortion. It's a question. The issue for me is one of choice. When will women finally have the right to choose like men have the right to choose? I would dare say we have a revolution and a war. If the government made a determination that they should decide who should be castrated in this country, there would be a war over that. That would be intolerable, unacceptable. And all of those men who are sitting and saying, I would dare say, that a woman, that this is great, and after all, we are pro-life. Well, okay, we all love children, but all of those men would say the government absolutely never should interfere and have any say-so in castration. So I think what goes for good goes for the other. We have that nuance to say.
Let me go to Mama D. Mama D, what's on your mind?
Well, Helen, greetings to you, and I'm so glad that you're better. Whenever something happens to the Jacksons, I take it personal.
Oh, bless your heart.
Well, it is written in the Black History Bible book whose hero is a woolly-haired man with bronze-colored feet to match his bronze-colored face. Children are a heritage of God, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. Church and state, there is a separation. A woman has a right to choose not to be a trinity, 3 in 1. Part living egg, part living sperm, and part living what the egg and the sperm created, called offspring. A woman has the right to choose from all the methods of birth control that did not exist 50 years ago, such as birth control pills, patches, diaphragms, tube stabs, a delayed menstrual cycle, and other methods that the safest of them all, hands up, dress down, legs closed. And what about rape? Well, if you have sense enough to go to a hospital and tell a doctor to stop the life that is growing in your body, you have sense enough to go to a police station and tell an officer that a man put something in your body, it hurt you, and that's a crime, and police will know that that was rape or that was incest, and if you're a child, it's still a crime. But on the other hand, if you choose to take a life, it's called premeditated, and it's an offense no matter how old the victim. And life begins, when it's homosexual, life begins in a test tube. So what the question is that I want to answer is, what about the father
CK. CK, should fathers be part of this conversation? I've got 2 minutes before we go to break.
Well, I think, certainly fathers should be part of the conversation in a family context, in a setting when if you're a grown enough man to father a child, you need to be a grown enough man to be part of the conversation. But there are a lot of situations where the fathers may not wish to be part of the conversation. There are a lot of situations where a woman is raped. You certainly don't want a rapist to be part of the conversation. A rape is illegal. It's an act of violence extorted upon a woman. You don't want the rapist to be able to be at the table, someone who violated you, who should be in jail if he raped you, to sit and make a decision as to what you should do with the child that you don't want because the child is part of a rape. There are women who are raped by people they never know. They don't know, they've never seen. I know a number of women who have been raped. It is absolutely ludicrous to think that the man who raped her should be at the table to help decide what happened to that fetus. I think that's ludicrous. I just have to be quite honest with you about that.
Okay. Well, you know what? I think that I've got less than a minute left. Is there anything else you want to say before you have to go?
No, I just want us to frame the issue not in terms of whether you agree with a woman's right to get an abortion or not. It's whether you agree that a woman should have a right to choose. That's what it is. And you have to think of, you start with this, how far do we go? What other rights will be invaded? What other rights will be violated? How far will the privacy go? How far will the government go in making determinations as to what we can do with our body?
Everybody, let's talk. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. People have a lot of different thoughts about this, and I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it. I want to hear what your thoughts are, because I have to tell you, I've evolved on my thoughts on this. I have, but I tell you where I have not moved. I'm not going to make my choices your choices. That I'm not willing to do. Not willing to do that. And so I think that if we're going to really be pro-life, let's be pro-life. That's another discussion. We need to support high quality housing for every man, woman, and child. High quality education for every man, woman, and child. High quality healthcare for every man, woman, and child. All these things are privileges in America today. They ought to be rights. You ought to have fun. They are fundamental human rights. And far too many of us feel that which will lead us to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is a privilege. It's not a right. This discussion, to me, this imminent abortion decision is not about life. It's about something else. Because these same people don't support prenatal care, postnatal care. A woman being able to go to a high quality hospital and have, the black maternal death rate belongs in the developing world. That doesn't bother you? The maternal death rate in the United States is rising for all women. That doesn't bother you? And you say you're pro-life? You're not trying to resolve that? Call me at 773-763-9278. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. CK? Did she go already? Okay. All right. Hold on. Okay, no. I'm going to let you go because I need to grab these lines. But girl, thank you so much, because I know I called you at the bewitching hour.
Your choice on others, that's really what it is.
Yeah, I'm not willing to do that.
Like to choose what happens to your body. But not imposing, no one should dictate, not the government. No one should dictate. But anyway.
Well, okay. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. And I'll let everyone know that today she's on WAOK at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. She will be talking about this on her show. So everybody, please go on and listen, because I know it's going to be a great show. Love you, CK.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Let me try. I'm going to try, and I want you to get Robert, Janice, and State Representative Ramirez. Hi, sweetie. I'm going to let you go because we're going to be talking about abortion today. Okay? But we're going to circle back to World Press Freedom Day. Okay? All right, sweetie. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Okay, Matt, I just released Mr. McKee.
Okay, so no Mr. McKee?
No, Mr. McKee, but everybody else.
Copy that.
Thank you. All right, everybody. The baby needs food. Babies have needs. People have needs. And I don't know how people want to fight for the fetus, but they don't fight for the baby, and they don't fight for the person that the adult that the baby becomes. Don't fight for education. Don't fight for decent housing. Don't fight for people to have access to food. You telling me that there's a broken supply chain, food supply chain? It was broken before Ukraine. I had a black farmer on here 2 years ago who was brought on by a state senator out of Wisconsin. He was despairing, he and a white farmer were despairing of the fact that they're growing this food and the food was dying because they could not get the food from the fields even to the streets that bordered their farms. You got to be serious. You cannot be serious. You're not serious. You're not serious about feeding people. You're not serious about life. If you were serious about this pandemic, you would have had an infection preventionist showing us how before we even got access to the shots. Hold on. Huh. Angelo?
Hey, good morning, Santita. So it sounds.
Okay, I'm gonna have John Nichols, but that is perfect. Perfect. No, if you can text me how Melanie wants to be introduced, that would be great. Thank you, sweetie. I appreciate it. How's Nina doing? Mm. Okay, well, I'm excited. Perfect. Yes. Thank you, sweetie. Oh, thank you, Angelo. Thank you. Okay, babe. Bye-bye. Okay. Hey. Do we have anyone here? Ooh. I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay. Is this Janice who I called real early this morning? Oh, don't hate me.
And I think Robert is on here too.
Uh-huh. Well, we were going to be talking about something else. But we're going to have Illinois State Representative Delia Ramirez on too. So I just started calling. Huh?
Okay, Representative Ramirez is ready.
Okay. And she's also running for Congress, and she is leading the polls in that race. Attorney Janice Mathis. She was endorsed by Congressman Chuy Garcia, our dear friend.
Okay.
And State Representative Ramirez, I want you to meet the executive director of the National Council of Negro Women. It's one of our most esteemed organizations. And Mary McLeod Bethune founded it. Janetta Cole has been president and the executive director, and now we have Attorney Janice Mathis, who's the executive director. I'm so excited that she is here, and we've got Attorney Robert Patillo, Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push, civil rights lawyer. You know, I think it's very interesting. We've been having State Representative Ramirez, and thank you so much, and Robert Patillo and Attorney Mathis. I think a nuanced discussion, because I think that Black women, brown women, people of color, that for a whole lot of reasons, there is, I think, I think that all people, no one wants to have an abortion. Okay, nobody. But there are cultural nuances, and I think that it's important for us to talk about those. So stand by, everybody.
30 seconds.
All right, and remember, I've got to do that live read. Okay.
Yep, copy that.
All right. Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you. And we have 15 seconds here.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Everybody, like and share this show. Like and share. You're right. The rich are worried about overpopulation, Webb. Mm-hmm.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. It's a joy to be with you today. Let's talk about this leaked document last night. Politico got the scoop. It appears that the Supreme Court is prepared to strike down Roe v. Wade. What do you think about that? Is this a pro-life decision, or is this about something else? I contend, as I come to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station based here in Chicago, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, and of course the Santita Jackson and Friends page on Facebook. That's my official page, everybody. Meet my morning stars there and meet them over on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I contend that this is not a decision about life. This is a decision about something else. We fight too much over and about and for things that give us life. We don't have universal single-payer health care. We don't have equal access to equal high-quality health care. Nobody does. Or education, or fair housing. We got a broken food supply issue, and that happened before Ukraine. I had 2 farmers on here 2 years ago from Wisconsin who said, I've got crops that are dying. I'd like to get them to people who are hungry, but I cannot even get them from my field to the street to even have a sale on the street. We're not pro-life. We don't support mothers with prenatal care. We don't support families with wages. Our families have to work 2 and 3 jobs to get half a bit of health care and to get a portion of a wage. Real wages have not moved since the 70s. Pro-life? You need to come again with me on that. Miss me on that. So let's talk with Attorney Janice Massive, National Council of Negro Women. She is their executive director, congressional candidate in Illinois State Representative Delia Ramirez, and radio host and Southeastern Regional Director of Rainbow Push, Robert Patillo, civil rights lawyer. We will get to them just as soon as I get through a few of these headlines, everybody. Chicago will have a high of 49 degrees. It is already raining. Minneapolis, St. Paul, a high of 56 degrees, partly cloudy. The Dow closed up 84 points yesterday. The NASDAQ closed up 201 points, and the S&P 500 closed up 23 points. The second round of the NBA playoffs, and it is great. It is on and popping. The Heat lead their series with 76ers 1-0. Last night, 106, the Heat, 92 to the 76ers. The Suns lead the Mavericks 1-0. The Suns 121, the Mavericks 114, and the Bucks, the world champion Bucks, will be playing the Celtics tonight. Of course, we're sending Nina Turner much love as she runs in her race today. I'm sending it. It's just me personally because I just love Nina Turner, and we need more progressives in Congress. She is running that race today, everybody. What do you make of the U.S. and Western officials who believe that Russian President Vladimir Putin could formally declare war on Ukraine as soon as May 9th? What will that mean? The declaration would enable the full mobilization of Russia's reserve forces. Western officials have long believed that President Putin would leverage the symbolic significance of that day to announce either a military achievement or that will coincide with Victory Day inside of Russia, or launch a major escalation of hostilities. The U.S. is likely to record its 1 millionth reported COVID-19 death in the next few weeks, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. Everybody, I want you to call me at 763-9278, 773-763-9278. Let's talk about Roe v. Wade. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about what it really means. In the meantime, speaking of life, what about buying a house? What about the American dream? What about having access to capital? What about your credit? If you have broken credit, if you have credit that needs to be rebuilt, built, whatever it is, whatever your financial situation is, huge credit card debt, if you need to refinance your home, if you need access to a VA loan, reverse mortgage, whatever it is, call Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or go on their website and go to 56david.com. 56david.com. And I tell you what, if you call them at 855-56-DAVID, if you take advantage of that free consultation, they can put you on the road to financial freedom. You have a Navy veteran named Chuck who was married to Patty. They were retired, barely surviving off of their Social Security. And his wife called to consolidate their first and second mortgages and to do something about their $30,000 of debilitating credit card debt. Well, guess what? They went to Team Hochberg and they were able to work it out. And they reduced their monthly payments by over $500 a month. They were able to get their VA loan. Yeah, but you got to call Team Hochberg and let them know just what is going on with you. And then let them come up with a plan to get you out of the hole. They've heard it all, and they can do it all. Call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or visit them at 56david.com. Believe me, there is no problem that is too difficult. You can get out of debt. You can move into financial freedom. So everybody, let's talk about this stunning breach of confidentiality of the Supreme Court and secrecy, confidentiality. Politico has obtained what has been called a draft of majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito that would strike down Roe v. Wade. What do you think about that, everybody? It's set to strike down Roe v. Wade. What is Roe v. Wade? Why is it so important? Why is everybody talking about it this morning? Indeed, it has displaced Ukraine at the top of America's headlines. That's right. This will change the life options for every man, woman, and child in the United States of America. Is this really a pro-life decision? Do we have equal access to equal high-quality health care, education, food? Have real wages moved since the late 1970s? No. None of those things. In a pandemic, was there ever any effort made to get us universal single-payer health care? No. People got sick with COVID-19, and guess what? They ended up with bills in the tens of thousands of dollars. All of that. So what is really going on here? What is really going on here? And different communities have different approaches to this because we have different histories when it comes to agencies over our bodies. So that's why we have this tremendous panel with us today. We have Illinois State Representative Delia Ramirez, who's also a congressional candidate leading in the polls in her district. And of course, she was with us last week, and I cannot wait to hear her thoughts. We've got Attorney Robert Patillo, who is the Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push. He hosts his own show on WAOK as well as CK Hoffler does every Sunday from 1 to 4. And of course, we got a radio host here on the Salem Network, but she is also, she used to be Vice President of Rainbow Push, but now she is the Executive Director of the iconic National Council of Negro Women. Let me start with you, Attorney Janice Mathis. What do you make of this decision? And I have to tell you, I've talked to a few people this morning, and people are saying that we need to have a more nuanced discussion because this is a very painful topic for many of us to broach on a whole lot of levels. Attorney Mathis.
Well, Santita, first of all, thanks for inviting me to be here. There are a few issues in American public life that touch on more aspects of how we operate as a nation than the issue of reproductive justice, reproductive freedom, abortion rights, choice, however you want to phrase it. There's an economic aspect. Obviously, there's a moral aspect to it. But for me, I think the real issue becomes, what do we trust women to do? 100 years ago, we didn't trust women to be able to vote. We didn't, centuries ago, women couldn't own property. They could only own property in the names of their husbands or their brothers or their fathers.
This is a deeply personal decision. You said something, nobody wants to have an abortion. But we seem to think that women need to be policed like kindergartners or criminals because they're not capable of making these very difficult decisions on their own. As recently as the California gubernatorial election, Larry Elder said, well, women don't know anything about politics or economics, so, their votes are not, and that's one reason he got beat out in California, too. I think we really have to examine the point that you raised. What is really motivating this? Is it really about life? If we were really concerned about no potential life being terminated, maybe we should require all unmarried men to be to have forced contraception. But we don't do that because we don't think of men that way. We think of women as children in need either of protection or policing, and that is what is difficult for me about it. Now, on a political level, of course, it means we got to go to these legislatures. We should not be surprised. This has been the plan for decades. Dorothy Height and some of her allies were writing and speaking about this issue 30 years ago. And I'll conclude with this. Most women alive today can't remember 1972 when I graduated from high school. They can't remember what the world was like, how many people died and bled to death and were permanently sterilized by back alley abortion. And so there's that aspect to it. But it's a tough issue and one we're going to have to confront.
Janice Mathis, Attorney Janice Mathis, Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women. I want to hear your thoughts, everybody. Call us at 773-763-9278. We've got Illinois State Representative Delia Ramirez, who is running for Congress right now. That's right. Congressman Chuy Garcia endorsed her and endorsed my brother, too. I'm real excited about you having a voice in our state legislature and perhaps in Washington too. Talk to me. What do you make of this? What would this do? What do you make of this? Of the possibility of this decision, and where do you see this leading if it comes to becoming established law?
Well, thank you. I've been thinking about this all night. I spent hours last night talking to other women and after I left it about what it means.
Okay, hold on 1 second. You're not clear. I want to make sure that people can hear you. Are you on an earbud? Want to make sure that. Oh, okay. Okay. Now I can hear you just a little bit better. Okay. Let's go.
Here's better now?
Yeah. That's
Is
perfect.
that better?
Yes, much better. Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. We've all been talking about this and not sleeping throughout the night, just wondering what this means for all of us. And while this is a draft opinion, Santita, you're right, we have to prepare to what this will be for all of us. And what it is an attack on our communities. It's a denial of health care. And to begin with, we haven't had access to health care across the country. But this is going to further deny our ability to have any choice and any decisions of our bodies. And what it won't do, it's not going to stop abortions. It's going to mean that more and more people, indigenous, Black, immigrant communities, will die as a result of this decision. And we have to be very clear about that. I've heard people say they're celebrating that now finally, this will be an America of justice. This is not going to be America of justice. This means more and more women, more and more of those that have been denied the access to abortions will end up dying. And that's what's happened before 1972. And so this is why, for me, it is so critical that we organize right now. The final decision hasn't been made, but it is our responsibility to organize. And we have to begin talking about codifying Roe versus Wade.
Robert Patillo, where do you see this going politically? What do you make of this? What do you make of the leaking of the document? What do you make of all of this?
Well, the Supreme Court doesn't leak. And that's what makes this interesting. Because by leaking this information, what they did was send them a trial balloon. They wanted to see what public opinion would be if they did indeed strike this down. They wanted to see what the national reaction would be before issuing a final opinion. Deliberations told it was secret. The deliberations that happened in American jurisprudence. We knew that this is what Republicans wanted when they stole that seat from Merrick Garland. This is why so many people were pushing President Obama to do a recess appointment and then dare Republicans to challenge it. This is what Republicans were doing when they went to the mat for Brett Kavanaugh, who was there sniffling and crying and screaming. The reason they didn't withdraw his nomination despite being accused of sexual assault. This is what Republicans were doing when they pushed through Amy Coney Barrett in a couple weeks to replace Ginsburg. This is what Republicans were doing when they turned their back on Ketanji Brown Jackson to try to prevent her from being on the Supreme Court. So they've been working on this strategy for decades to get to this point. So I think this now becomes the primary issue, the midterms in 2022. What is the ability of women around the country to motivate, to organize around this issue? And can you get to 60 votes in the United States Senate that will be needed to overturn this legislatively? And how much will Democrats run on this? We've had a lot of people claiming to care about women's rights for a long time. Well, now this is where the rubber hits the road, and that's going to be the determining factor, because as we saw with voting rights after the Shelby decision in 2014, you have to have a legislative response. We haven't had a legislative response on voting rights in nearly a decade. So it's time to see about those intersectional discussions about allyship, how people organize in order to overturn this, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that can overturn a Supreme Court decision, codifying things legislatively.
Do you think we should be having a more nuanced discussion about this, Attorney Mathis? Because so many people, I mean, this is such a deeply personal and emotional decision, and you see the intersection of culture, of religion, of politics, of family history. I mean, so much goes into this. I think should be going into this discussion that's not there, Attorney Mathis. Is Attorney Mathis there? Well, let me ask you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Myself.
That's all
I
right.
had not read the entire opinion, all 92 pages, but I did skim it overnight. And it's interesting to me that Justice Alito starts by talking about how sharply divided opinion is. But actually, opinion is not sharply divided on this issue. Ever since the ruling, Roe v. Wade, and the cases that followed it, Casey and others, the American public has been pretty much, a majority of them believe that there ought to be some right to a safe, legal abortion. Now, where the difficulty comes in is that when you decide you want to throw this to the state legislatures, which is essentially what Alito is saying, let's go back to pre-1973 law and allow each state legislature to decide on its own. Meanwhile, you have to couple that posture with the fact that the GOP has done everything it can possibly do to gerrymander state legislatures so that they have an unfair and disproportionate advantage. 70% of the American people think abortion should be legal, but the legislatures, because of gerrymandering, don't reflect what the will of the people. So when they say give it back to the people in the legislature, that's a farce in itself. So yes, there's a need for nuance, and there's also a need for a real reckoning about what is it that old white men see that scares them so much.
Now, there you go. Now, it has the Supreme Court kicked this back to the states, and as a state legislator, what do you have the power to do? What do you not have the power to do? What should you do, Representative Ramirez?
Look, she said it so perfectly. We understand that, yes, at the state level there is a lot of power, but we don't have most of the state legislatures. Here in Illinois, however, I'm really thankful in 2019, we passed the Reproductive Health Act bill in preparation. Hopes that this will never happen, but in preparation that if Roe versus Wade was overturned, that in Illinois we will find a safe haven to health care, that people could come here, people here would be able to continue to have legal, safe abortions. But that is not the case for more than 26 other states in this moment. And what that will end up meaning for these states, that in these other states that in the midterms may end up losing any potential majority or minority in their own state legislatures, it means that those that are safe havens, those that have acted already, may also be at risk. This is why the state legislatures are so critical, and this is why it's so important that people get out and vote like their life depends on it during this midterm.
Get out and vote because your life does depend on it. I mean, people have been telling you how important the Supreme Court is. And Robert, I want you to stay with me a little while. I hope you can too, Attorney Mathis. But it seems that falls on deaf ears, or people don't take it as seriously, Attorney Mathis, until we have moments like these. And when you have moments like these, it's a little late. I've got less than a minute, Attorney Mathis.
Well, I never lose faith in the American people. We really do get the kind of government that we want, if we want it badly enough. And so what I expect you're going to see is a massive, although women leaders that I'm in touch with, we're tired. We're tired of fighting for voting rights, tired of trying to defend Ketanji Brown Jackson. We're tired. But you will see a massive movement to organize women and their allies around this issue. And of course, there will be equally vociferous organizing on the opposition side. But what I hope we will see is a real examination of what we mean when we say democracy. What do we mean when we say one person, one vote? Are we willing now to do something about the egregious gerrymandering, which has resulted in the takeover of these state legislatures? If 70% of the state legislatures were configured to reflect the will of the American people, this wouldn't be much of a problem. Kick it back to the state legislature and keep it moving. But that is not the situation we face. As Senator Warnock said recently, some people don't want some people to vote. And that's the real crux of the issue. The other thing is, historians will look back on this period and say, this is when the Supreme Court lost its last shred of credibility. For Alito to start out talking about how contentious this issue is, they neglect to mention that a majority of the American people support reproductive choice and have ever since 1973, is disingenuous. He makes it sound like it's a 50-50 split. It's not even close.
It's not even close. You know what? I don't want to run over, but I've got about 15 seconds. Tell us why we need to vote, State Representative Ramirez.
If we care about health care, if we care about housing, if we care about our ability to survive and thrive in this country, our life depends on these midterms at the local, at the state, and at the federal level. Let's get out and vote.
Get out and vote. Illinois State Representative Delia Ramirez, everybody, running for Congress here, along with Nina Turner. Nina Turner is up for election today. The midterms are here, everybody. What are you going to do about it? Are you participating? You better participate. You have a decision like this, or when you have a leak like this, this is why. I'm going to be joined by John Nichols and your friend Melanie Campbell in just a few minutes on the Santita Jackson Show. Stay right here. Back in a minute. Girl, I've been pulling out all the stops today. How about that? Okay. Well, when I looked up and I saw I had to do this pivot, come on now. Knew what I needed to do. I had to call Janice. I know you did not expect this call this morning, but
the contact information for those guests?
Oh, you didn't get, I didn't give you John Nichols? Lord. Okay.
I'm not seeing it on the
Okay. No,
updated
no, no,
on
no,
the-
no, 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 no. That's okay. But I just sent you Melanie Campbell. I just sent you that one. So, because I'm pivoting on John too. I'm pivoting on everybody. How about that? Well, thank you so much. I mean,
We had to retool everything we plan to do today.
I know you.
I gotta write something for Dr. Daly.
Oh my gosh. Look, I had to retool. I was literally walking over here, and this is what always happens when I get my show done just a little early. Something happens. And I looked at my text.
You get punished for doing the job early.
Oh my gosh. I mean, getting it done. Finally, people actually confirmed early. That's when I can finish, and I write the run sheet and I post the stories. And I mean, I looked at and so I put my phone down just after 9 o'clock last night, which is very unusual for me. I'm trying to get in bed a little earlier. And I looked up this morning at 3 and saw this text. I said, "You've got to be kidding me." What? Because I just can't look at the news. I'm tired of war every day. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So so I just said, well, let me look at HGTV and and watch people have their homes transformed. I can do that. And look at what
You
happened.
can't help but be awed by Zelensky and sorry for the people in the Ukraine. But I tell you the truth, I've never seen this much publicity about a military undeclared war. I mean,
All day.
what about all the other hot spots that we've been in?
Well, and what about a peace plan? I'm like, y'all, even President Zelensky said you can't shoot your way out of war. We have to negotiate our way out of it. So what about that? They're having
We're gonna put out something on this Mother's Day for peace.
Look,
Dr. Daly's already written it.
I'm talking about it. That is what we will be talking about on Sunday. Let me know if you can join us on Sunday.
Maybe we get her to join you.
Absolutely. But I mean, I think that's
Maybe we
important.
get Selma to join you and talk about why she wrote a really compelling emotional piece about Mother's Day and what mothers mean and
That's
why
right.
mothers ought to stand for peace.
We've been doing it for years.
Thank you for that idea.
Well, I mean, we've been doing it for years, just been pushing it because that's the original idea of Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day for peace. Julia Ward Howe.
Okay, we got 1 minute.
Okay, who do we have? Who do we have here? Okay, Matt, who do we have on, hon?
Sorry, we have Mrs. Campbell and Mrs. Wells. I'm still working on
John?
Mr. Nichols.
Okay. And we have Miss Campbell?
We do.
Melanie? How are you? Thank you so much for coming on. We've got, we got Janice on. Janice Mathis.
What's up, man? Here we go. We got to get armored up.
Okay, 10 seconds.
Yeah. I've been talking to our friends.
Okay, we've got the lone man here. We've got Robert Patillo, Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push. I'm sure you know him. Stand by.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Taking your calls at 773-763-9278 here on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. We used to be Air America, but now we are the Heartland Signal, WCPT 820, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I want you to meet my morning stars on my official Facebook page. That's the page you need to go to, everybody. Please, Santita Jackson and Friends. Santita Jackson and Friends. And of course, we have got my YouTube channel, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I hope that you'll join us at the Rainbow Push International Conference, June 18th through the 22nd. June 18th through the 22nd. Morning Stars, we're going to have a picnic there and everything. I want to see you there, Morning Stars, and everybody else. Please join us. Go to rainbowpush.org and get registered for the convention, June 18th through the 22nd. We should have a reunion there, right? We've been away from each other physically for far too long. So let's talk about this Roe v. Wade decision. That could be imminent, everybody. This leaked draft has been a bombshell dropped in the American body politic and in the culture. Will Roe v. Wade be overturned? We've been talking with Attorney Janice Mathis, Executive Director of the National Council of the iconic National Council of Negro Women, Attorney Robert Patillo from Rainbow Push, Southeastern Regional Director, of course, host of his own show on WAOK, and of course, Attorney Mathis and her beautiful sister host a show on Salem, on the Salem Broadcast Network. And then we've got John Nichols, who's always with us every Tuesday, but I'm having to put him in between all of this because of this breaking news we have. Of course, John Nichols is the national correspondent for The Nation magazine, but I'm so excited to have the national convener for the Black Women's Roundtable, one of our great leaders, Melanie Campbell, who agreed to be with us today. Thank you, Melanie Campbell, for being with us.
They say the fight continues.
The fight continues. As we go into this fight, I have a very dear friend here from Celebrations by Us who is, she makes some of the best food you ever want to have, you guys. So I want to hear from you, Shapiro, before we go pivot back into this discussion.
Good morning, Santita. And yes, at Celebrations by Us, we are your one-stop party connection. And right now we're gearing up for prom, graduation, and wedding season. So please don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-546. 708-526-4546. And we're right now taking orders for your prom designs, which is your custom backdrop, your suite tables, as well as also your custom name tables and your personalized treats. So don't hesitate to give us a call, 708-526-4546, 708-526-4546. We look forward to serving you. Thank you so much.
Oh, amen, amen. Melanie Campbell, I want you to kick things off for us before I get to you, John, and the rest of the panel. Whew. What do you make of this this leaked document that could spell the end of Roe v. Wade? I mean, Robert Patillo made the point in the last segment that the Supreme Court, they're hyper secret. You know, they don't leak documents. This does not happen. I think they were trying to take the temperature politically. But talk to me. What could it mean? I mean, if they're taking the temperature politically, what does that mean? If this actually becomes established law, what would that mean?
Well, I'll do that old saying to say this is not a drill. Right? This is real. And the leak, whatever it is, it's one thing to have the feeling that they were going to do it. Now there's evidence that they're going to do it. And so this court is showing exactly where they're going with our rights. And we won't have any. Let's have it done. They've already stripped voting rights, and they continue to strip it. And now women's right to control our bodies is on the line. And so imagine what they're going to do when it comes to other kinds of wins we've had to protect our rights and to provide opportunity for our community. We no longer have a Supreme Court where historically we've been able to go to remedy our rights, protect our rights, and things like that. It's on. And so anybody that thinks that they're not connected is missing it. And so we are at this point now where today in Ohio they have a primary, right? And the primaries are here, and we better be paying attention to who's being elected and make sure that we mobilize like we have to mobilize like there's a presidential election. Because what we have on top of all of that is that these same states, most of them, that are ready to reverse Roe versus Wade, reverse a woman's right to choose in their states, many of the same states. If you overlay lazy on top of each other. The same states that have passed voter suppression laws of this country. Some of the same states that are passing critical race theory. All of these laws that get quote unquote critical race theory and the things that are happening. And many of them are in the South, but not just the South, as we all know. So we're at this point where this election will define the next decade, not a decade, decades of what our life will be like in this country. There won't be a quote-unquote democracy. It will truly be an autocracy where you won't have any place to go for a remedy.
Melanie Campbell, what would life be like, say, for Black women in particular, without Roe v. Wade?
The resources to go to Canada, to go to Mexico, like others will have. So what it means is that you will have Black women who won't have the ability to control our bodies. Already we know that our mortality rate when it comes to maternal mortality is high. So if you have it where it's illegal to even for medical reasons to deal with an abortion when you need one, or this on the floor, then that means for Black women and women of color who have less means to find a way out, won't have that. Won't have the ability to do that. So that means that impacts our mortality even more, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor, but I can read the realities of what we all know has been literally lifted up around issues around maternal mortality. So this is only going to exacerbate that situation. So it's also a health risk, a life and death risk, who may need to have a procedure just on that, let alone just my right to choose how I want to control my body.
Attorney Mathis, as we're on the precipice of Mother's Day, I mean, what should we be calling for? I mean, whether we have fruit of our womb or fruit of our spirit. I mean, women are the nurturers. We're the mothers of the human race. I mean, what could this decision mean? What is this leak, this political moment? What are we being called to do?
What we're being called to do at this moment is to demand that this society recognize women as fully autonomous, grown-up human beings capable of making rational decisions for themselves. The young women like to say, "My body, my choice." That sums it up as well as any other phrase. From a political and legal perspective, we must organize. In those states where the right to choose is threatened by legislatures that don't hear women's voices, we've got to organize, redouble our efforts to register and mobilize people to vote. And as tragic as it sounds, this is going to galvanize people to do just that. People like Melanie, people like Helen Butler, people who are in the business of organizing voters are going to use this as Exhibit A for why we need to register and vote and why the vote matters, regardless of what party you favor, that it matters to have your voice, that your vote is your voice and a reflection of your power. So that's what I think we're going to see is a massive voter mobilization and voter education effort around this issue and others. And, people talk about how it's been the most significant investment that most people will make. No, having a child is the most significant investment that most people will make. And for Black women who have to contend with the hyper-incarceration of Black males, contend with consistently lower pay than anybody else in the society, there's a real economic burden as well. And we have to be pragmatic and face that, too. That nobody wants to bring a child into the world not knowing how it will be fed or clothed. And you look at a society that is nearly heartless in some jurisdictions about providing the basic necessities of life. I think we've got to take a cold, hard look at what we do to support the children who are born. Yes, we care about the unborn, but what about those who are here and can't get medical treatment here and risk being put off Medicaid or CHIP here, and mothers can't earn a decent wage here, and fathers are incarcerated for crimes in many cases that are now no longer illegal if you think about marijuana. I could go on and on, but suffice to say, this is a real blow to the autonomy and the independence of all women, particularly women of color.
Before I go to, Robert Patillo, many people don't pay attention to the Supreme Court. Well, you know what? Stay right there, Robert. Let me go to you, John Nichols. John Nichols, I know we did a hard pivot. We were going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene and President Biden and on and on and on. But what will this mean for the Democrats? In the midterms, here we are.
Yeah, we sure are. And it's an incredibly political issue. There's no doubt about that. But I think we should pause even before we make a lot of assumptions here. First and foremost, the Democrats control the United States House of Representatives and narrowly the U.S. Senate, and they hold the presidency. They are officially a pro-choice party. They have the ability to codify Roe v. Wade in law now. They can do it. They can do it today. There are bills in Congress. There's a route to do this, and they've got resistance to it. And there's no question the challenge of the filibuster in the Senate. But there are also several Republicans who claim to be pro-choice as well. Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, as an example. And so there's a route to act immediately on this, and that ought to be the first step. There ought to be a consciousness that this can be done. We can respond to this immediately. I think too many people are kind of like, oh, the court's settled, we're going to wait and see what they do. No, there should be activism in an immediate moment to codify Roe. Second, there should be a recognition that if this ruling does come down as written in some point, not too far in the distant future, that in roughly half of our states, abortion will immediately be illegal. That's a huge political issue for the state. And what it means is that races for governorship this year in much of the country will become every bit as important as races for the U.S. Senate and for the U.S. House of Representatives. And so there really needs to be kind of a very serious, thoughtful approach to the politics of the moment. First, codify Roe. Second, recognize that this is no longer a race for control of Congress, or one where there's a lot of focus on control of Congress. There also has to be, if this ruling comes down and Roe hasn't been codified, there has to be a focus on the individual states. It will matter who is the governor and who is in the legislature in states across this country. In fact, for women, it may matter as much or more than who is in the Congress.
Everybody, I want you to call me. Call me. It's 773-763-9278. Let me bring up Maria. Maria, you've been holding. I want to thank you so much for your patience. What's on your mind, Maria?
Thank you, Santita. I've been listening to all the panelists here, and I agree with their summation. It ultimately comes down to the individual's right to vote. And there are many people that are not exercising that right to vote during the mid-election. The mid-election is just as important as the presidential election, because the mid-election, we are voting in and electing people that are going to make rules that affect our lives. We are electing, officials into positions where they can nominate who will be the next Supreme Court justice, who are going to be the federal judges across this country. People are not understanding the importance of voting during the mid-elections, not just the president. And I agree with John. At the local level, we need to elect people that reflect our views, our values, because they're the ones that are going to be in the position to make the rules, to make the decisions. It's going to affect the rest of us. When I heard this yesterday, I was
Wait. I'm sorry. I'm hearing something in the background. Okay. All right. We're hearing something in the background. Okay. Very good.
So I remember growing up in this country. It was during the Vietnam War, and there was protests, and then the women marching, And it was fabulous to see that we were coming into our own. Now it feels like we're taking a giant step back because this decision reverberates in everything else. It affects every single aspect of our lives. People are like, oh, no, it's just about abortion. No, it's more than that. What's going to happen next? Are they going to go after our right to vote? Are they going to go after our right to be able to enter into contract? You buy a house. We weren't able to do this. Women were not able to do this until, the late last century without a male providing the assist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry. I've grown up through a very turbulent times. I have been able to get an education. I've been able to get a work. I've been able to buy a home. And this pretty much me doing this with the help of people. We're not alone. We always have help along the way. But to have my life decided by a bunch of, excuse my expression, white old men and their psychopaths, no.
No, Maria, stay right there. Because I think you're speaking for a lot of people, and I want to get some closing thoughts from everybody here. And John Nichols, I want to thank you for your patience today, because we had to do a hard pivot. I had to do it just before I came on the air because I missed this story last night. I did something that I never do. I got rest. Shame on me for doing this so late, but I can hear something in the background, and it's disrupting the sound here. So I want to get some closing thoughts from everybody here. Let me start with you, Attorney Robert Patillo. Robert Patillo, about a minute and a half. Your thoughts. What are your marching orders? What are we seeing here?
Well, this goes back to one of those that ain't our woman moment. Primarily because this is going to gauge the extent to which we have white women as allies in our movement, because we haven't seen them active on voting rights. We haven't seen them active on criminal justice reform in the United States Senate. We haven't seen the white female senators come out vociferously for minority rights or immigrant rights in many cases. There's plenty of conservative women that get abortions too. So when it comes to putting together this movement that will be needed in the midterms, we have to make sure that it's a package deal. Don't just come run into the minority community saying we need to codify Roe. You have to come saying, well, we need to codify Roe, pass voting rights, pass criminal justice reform, because we're going to compete on here. That means we're all on a team. It ain't just we're on your team when it's convenient for you. We're all on a team together. We're on a team.
John Nichols, what say you? Because this is, if ever there were a time for a need for a coalition and a need for, a real strategy, like pushing the Congress to codify this right now, the time is now, John Nichols. What are we going to do?
And Robert's right. This isn't the only issue that's at stake right now. The fact of the matter is, before 7 or 8 o'clock last night, we had a pile of issues that needed to be dealt with. Now we've got this issue on top of it. The assault on Roe by the Supreme Court, and frankly by the right, is particularly significant, though, because this is a case where we do see a reversal of a right. Something that we established as a right for folks. And so what you have to recognize is, if the court starts with this, as Robert suggests, they're not going to stop. Once they know they can start taking people's rights away, there will be more assaults. And I think you have to think, especially of the LGBTQ community. You have to think of voting rights. You have to think of a host of other rights, which we at our best accept as reality, but now see threatened. And so for this moment, I think one of the most powerful things that could be done would be, as I suggested, an immediate move in Congress to codify Roe. And that leads to 2 core questions. One, is the Democratic Party a pro-choice party? Because if they've got control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, they should be able to codify. And also, are these Republicans, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, who have been reelected over the years, sometimes with many Democratic votes by saying that they are supportive of women's rights, that they are supportive of abortion rights. Are they serious about this? Will they support overturning the filibuster, or will they support their party, their Republican Party, over this action? And we've got some fundamental things to do immediately, even before we think about the core reality of the 2022 election. But on that core reality of the 22 elections, I'll just leave people off with this very simple message. Don't focus so much on Washington once you're beyond this immediate moment. There is an absolute necessity to focus on the states, because that's where people live. And the fact of the matter is, if abortion rights are banned throughout the South, state after state throughout the South, you're going to have women, particularly women of color, particularly people who are in vulnerable situations. You're going to have folks who are literally incapable of getting to where they might access what was thought of as their right. So this becomes a very fundamental issue in the state, and there should be no state in this country where progressives are not fighting to elect governors and legislators who will do the right thing, not just on this issue, but on a host of issues that are so vital.
Melanie Campbell, National Convener of the Black Women's Roundtable, the last minute and a half belong to you. We need some marching orders, my dear leader.
Thank you. I think what the both others had said combined the two. We got to walk and chew gum. We're in the midst of the primary season, so we need to pay attention to who's voting, as well as continue to fight, because not everybody is going to be mobilized in our community around abortion, but they are going to be mobilized around voting rights. They're going to be mobilized around criminal justice reform. In order for there to be any, and this is, because I'm not part of it, so I'm going to be careful how I say this, but if the Democrats have half a chance, they are going to have to use all opportunities to show people that they're fighting for their rights. That's the fundamental thing that we're talking about here. So if they don't do that, if they don't do everything they can, in the Senate, the House is doing this job. The Senate has not. Whether or not they can pass it, show who's for it and who's not for it. Right? So that people are making decisions in this election cycle now. The White House, whatever way they can use their bully pulpit. And then it's all about what's going on. I'm down in Georgia right now. Unfortunately, y'all, I got COVID again. So I'm trying to get myself together. So, anyway, I'm good.
Are you feeling all right?
So the reality.
Okay, because I just got over it. I just got over it too.
But I'm on the other side of it.
Okay.
But the reality is that we have to mobilize, and also Janice and I will work together. We've been working together for a year now, or longer, Janice, right? With our Black women and allies. So we're going to be mobilizing, just like we did around the Supreme Court. But we have to make sure that our people have to see that this matters for them, and it is not one issue. It's voting rights, minimally voting rights. Now, of course, this issue around reproductive rights, and then, of course, the issue still around criminal justice reform. Because what's happening in these states, as I said, we're still getting shot and killed unjustly. So young people are paying attention to that. And if they don't show up, they showed up in 2018. So we have a playbook to follow if we pay attention to what got young people out in 2018. They showed up, and they got to show up this time.
Amen. And you know what, everybody? That is it. Melanie Campbell, I hope that you will consider this show to be your home. You got in on John Nichols' time today, but I want you to come back early and often. Early and often. This is your home. This is your home. I hope you all will come on back. We got a lot of work to do, everybody. A lot of work to do. And keep the conversation going, everybody. What is life really about? Life is about having equal access to equal high quality health, education, food, all of that. That's when you're pro-life. I love everybody. See you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Melanie, thank you so much. Whew. Melanie, this has been a crazy day. I had to completely redo my show at 5:47 this morning before I came on the air. Oh, but thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you Thank you, Robert. Thank you, John. Oh, thank you so much. Oh boy, I love you all. I am going to run. So it is raining cats and dogs. Matt, thank you for a great show. You are a champ, Matt. Really, really. Thank you so much. Love y'all. Love y'all. Love y'all. Love y'all. Oh, woo. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you, Carolyn. I do love you. And Buenos Dias Health Talks down there in Puerto Rico. Where are you in Puerto Rico? Where are you in Puerto Rico? Where are you, my dear friend? Miss Wanda, sending you all much love. Wow. I will say this as we go. The whole discussion about being pro-life is always, I found it to be a little hypocritical. Not a little, a lot hypocritical. Because the same people who say that they want to save the zygote and save the baby, because I do believe life begins at conception, but I think a lot of things are complex. Life ain't, it should be a straight line, but it's not. So I want to give people space. I make judgments, no question, but I don't like to condemn people. And I certainly do not, while I have my personal views and what I would do, what my druthers are, I don't impose them. I don't believe in imposing them on somebody else. I just don't believe in it. That's me. Um, and that's how I feel about abortion. That's how I feel about it. I really, really do. I was raised in church, raised by a minister, and while my father is publicly pro-choice, abortion, that's not our thing. But I'm not going to hold you to that. Now, do I think that there's a certain point at which you should just have the child and put it up for adoption? Absolutely. But we even have to make that system more humane. No woman wants to have an abortion, and no woman wants to give away her child. We don't even have safety. We don't have supports for mothers and fathers. We don't have that. We are not pro-life and we are not pro-family. I don't care what people campaign on and say. We're none of those things. We don't believe in prenatal care. We don't believe in universal single-payer health care. We don't believe in equal access to equal high-quality health care. In a pandemic, we didn't do that. Didn't do it. Didn't even think about it. They just told you to stay home. Then they told you to get a shot. Are you serious? That's it? The first year and a half, working class and black and brown people couldn't get tested in a pandemic where the whole world shut down. You couldn't go anywhere. So you're not serious. If you're serious about life, you promote life and you make sure that people have it. So come on, everybody. Let's get real. Let's get real. Let's get real. What is this really about? What is this really about? You all want to save the babies? You want to save the children? Help the parents. Make sure that everybody can have something, not just something to eat, but high quality food to eat. Save the farmers if you really want to save life. Fund the public school system. Invest more in peace and the peace dividend, which is schooling and hospitals and roads and bridges and all of that, than you do in war. We're trying to fight for COVID-19 relief, and yet Ukraine looks at us and says they give us $2 billion a month. We need that. Okay. Biden counters with, I'm going to give you $33 billion. I can't get $10 billion for COVID relief. Huh? No. And I got to give you some money so we all can continue to shoot each other. No, give me a plan for peace. How about that? I'll give you some money, but there's some conditions I've got. A plan for peace. So we can stop all this shooting and killing and move toward life. If that's what you want to save, if that's what you're saying y'all want to do, okay, then let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm here for that. Here for it. So, let's stop playing these games. Stop playing these games. Stop playing these games. Let's get real and let's create a culture of life. Or we will have a culture that will embrace spiritual death. Dr. King told us that. If you spend more money on the military than on programs of social uplift, cultural uplift, you are headed towards spiritual death. You're talking about saving zygotes and fetuses, but you won't make sure that the mother can get through the pregnancy safely and have her baby safely. Maternal mortality in the United States for all women is through the roof. And for Black women and Indigenous women, it's worst of all. No. You're not serious. Not about life. So I don't know what this decision is about. These are the same people who are making this decision, the same folks who got Black women pregnant and made us have the babies. And we loved them. But really? This is what this is feeling like to me. And like I said, my personal druthers, I'm not going to impose them on you. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But I know before, as we ask women to have children, and fathers to father children, and women to make enough of a sane decision that you find someone who wants to father the child that he fathers for you. There's that piece too. There's a lot going on here. So let's think about all of that. Yeah. I'm like, there are a lot of bad decisions that lead to that one. A lot of bad decisions lead to a very painful one. So let's look at it all, everybody. Look at everything so that we can start making some sane, sober, healthy decisions. Okay? Health Talks down there in Puerto Rico. I'm sending you much, much, much love. I'm so glad that you reached out today. And you're right, the radical right uses abortion as moral standing because they are amoral about everything else. That's right. It's weaponized bigotry. And you know what? And we're all playing games with this. You know, what did my father say? We fight about the baby before they get here, and then we fight over the baby once they arrive. You know, we love our children, kind of, sort of. And when I say kind of, sort of, because we're not providing for them. We're not educating our children. We're not feeding our children or their parents, the adults that they become. We're going to have to grow up in our politics and grow up in the way we treat one another, grow up in the way we regard one another. If you want to be pro-life, then save a life, build a life, open the door for people to have life, open the door for people to be re-educated, open the door for fair wages, a livable wage. Open that door. Establish that precedent. Create a net beneath which no human being can fall. That's pro-life. And swing wide the gates of opportunity. Lift the ceilings off of people's ambitions. Make sure that people are able to actualize themselves and become all that God sent us here to be. That's what you do. You make that adjustment. We're not doing all of that. We're doing none of that. So let's go on. And if you want, no, Carol, I don't want to run for Congress. That is not me. I am so honored that you would even say that. I love you, but no, my brother can do that. And whoever else wants to run, God bless him. Dahlia, she's going to be fantastic. I'd rather do this and other things with you. You know, but you're right, Medi, we've got to grow up politically. We do. And I hope you all will join us at the Rainbow Push Conference, June 18th through the 22nd, June 18th through the 22nd. Morning Stars, if you are in Chicago or nearby, come on over. We're going to have a big reunion picnic that Saturday, and I hope that you will be there. You're going to be hearing me talking more and more about it, because I think that's where we all need to gather and be with each other. But enough of the hypocrisy already. Enough of that. You know, and this is such a tremendous decision, and why I say tremendous, it is of such importance that it knocked Ukraine off the front page. It knocked it off the top of the news today, and good. But what needs to come back? Hey, Abraham, how you doing, sweetie? What needs to come back? What needs to come into this discussion about abortion, about ending a life before it really begins, is how you can extend the life once it gets here. I think this would be another kind of decision if people felt that they were going to be supported, and if we had pro-family and family values, if we valued families. We don't have that. So let's have that discussion. That should be married to this discussion too. Prenatal care, postnatal care. ensuring that all families have all the food and medical care and housing that they need once a child before the child gets here, because the woman needs to be protected. And don't drag the man out the house or the apartment because he's there. Don't do that. See, there are things that we need to do. But those are mature, grown folks discussions that we need to have. And yes, that means we need to take care of each other. And yes, we need to make some really good decisions, some solid decisions about who we're with. Okay, yeah, I'm going there too. Okay, you should make some smart decisions about our personal lives. And then we need to protect those who've been violated. People don't report rape and incest because they feel violated when they do. Let's grow up, everybody. Let's grow up. Let's grow up. Grow up. So I tell you what, it's, let's be blessings to each other. Let's just be blessings to each other, everybody. Let's start there. So I love you, and boy, oh boy, I need to rest now a second because I was running today. But God is good because you all were here, and I feel so blessed. I feel so blessed by all of you. I just want you to know, I thank you for blessing me. Thank you for being with us today. Let's continue to keep this conversation going, everybody. I'm going to be launching my website in a few weeks. Yay. I love you, everybody. Cannot wait to be with you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show.